Hi everybody, Jeremy Siskind here. I'm the author of the Jazz Piano Fundamental series. This is book 3, which is about modal and modern jazz. I'm the author of the Solo Standards for Piano series. This is book 1 and currently the only one. This is Playing Solo Jazz Piano, another book that I wrote. I recommend you buy all of them at jeremysiskind.com. So today I'm doing something a little bit different. Usually I try to do something that really is going to directly help you, give you something to practice, give you something to focus on, give you something to work on. But today I'm actually going to share some of the things that are, have been relevant for me, and I'm trying to work on to find a next level for my own playing. You might just be curious, what does a pianist of your level work on? And first of all, I guess before I say any of that, I think as I'm a busy professional, a lot of my improvement is based on projects rather than necessarily practice, if that makes any sense. So, I don't get the chance to sit down at the piano a lot and say, well, I'm really going to, improve my technique. What I do get the chance to do is I'm given a lot of music and I have to go and learn it. And through that process, intentionally or not intentionally, I hopefully get better or at least maintain my current level. But there are some things that have been recurring themes for the last few years, honestly, that I'm seeing appear more in my playing and I'm trying to force into my playing a little bit more. I thought you might be curious what those are. So I wrote down 6 things that are really present for me. I'm not recommending necessarily that they're the most relevant things for you, but I just thought it'd be interesting to share them. So let me see. This was what I thought I would use. So the first one is 5-tuplets. Okay, I have talked about this on the channel before, and I've been practicing 5-tuplets for probably 4 or 5 years, and they are starting to show up naturally in my playing. And there's just so much to do with 5-tuplets, right? I mean, you think about it, it's kind of crazy. We almost completely ignore 5 when we think about subdivision. If we're playing in 4/4, we're playing, 8th notes, dividing the beat into 2 or 3 if we're stuck in swing. We do triplets. Maybe we do 16th notes. And then maybe we skip to 6-tuplets, right? 6-note groups. Oh, I went to 5-tuplets because I'm so used to it. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4. But there's so much potential with 5. We totally skip it. And I have found that working on 5-tuplets, besides being something that I can use, it's also helped me get out of such a grid-like feeling of it's got to be either 3 or 4 in the subdivision. So, if I'm playing blues, I don't know. You can hear I'm accessing some different subdivisions. And it's cool because, of course, like any other rhythm, we could do 5-tuplets within a beat or within 2 beats, which is what I was doing, or 5 against 3, 5 against 4. So there's so much potential. And I'm at the point where I can pretty well get into 5-tuplets, without thinking too hard about it. But the hard thing then is not just playing da-da-da-da-da-da. You probably noticed that that's what I was doing, right? Starting and ending right on the beat. So the next step for me, one of the next steps is going to be actually being fluent in 5-tuplets, like not just having to play it in a somewhat exercise way. So there's a long way to go to get there, but kind of a lot of really cool experimentation to be done. So that is definitely high on the list of things I've been trying to incorporate. A second thing I've been trying to incorporate is voicing lower notes in my chord, right? So usually as pianists, we bring out the top note. If we're comping with 2 hands, it's going to mostly be the pinky of the right hand. And when I say bring out, I mean in terms of volume. by the way, I'm sure a couple people are wondering, more than a couple, hopefully are watching this video. Voicing, of course, refers to choosing notes and playing and the formation of a chord, but also in piano technique, it refers to bringing out certain notes in terms of volume. And like I said, traditionally we bring out the top note. Right, you could hear it prominent more than any other. And this is great because usually we play the melody on top. But it can be kind of a cool effect to voice a lower note. Do you hear that my thumb is being voiced as the loudest thing? And that's the most common thing that I'm working on, because it's actually not that hard to voice the thumb because it's a weird finger on our hands, right? And that's really opened up a lot for me in terms of just different sounds, because there's kind of a limited number of chords and chord voicings that always have the melody on top. But once you start thinking, you're all of a sudden getting some different sounds. And of course, it's not only possible to voice the right hand thumb, I could voice the left hand thumb. And then think about it, there could be combinations. I could voice the left hand thumb and the right hand pinky. Or I could voice both pinkies. Or I could voice both thumbs. And so you get all these kind of exciting other possibilities. And maybe related to this is hand over hand voicings. I didn't put this on the list, but I could have, which is where, I take two shapes and I put some of the right hand notes in between the left hand notes and vice versa. And that also is creating voicings that are starting to be surprising to me rather than all the same old stock voicings that I've played before. So that's pretty interesting. And you might say, well, isn't that just the same as playing that? In terms of notes it is, but in terms of voicing, I have so much more control to bring out different notes if I combine the two hands. All right, you could tell these are things that I'm excited about. I'm taking way too long on each of them, but hopefully it's interesting. All right, the Fortepiano pedal is something I've been working on maybe for a decade now. It's starting to show up more and more. Sometimes I have to force it into my playing. But what this basically means is that I'm doing a late pedal. And you can hear definitely both Oscar Peterson and Bill Evans and a lot of really fine pianists doing this. I'm sorry, I don't have a pedal cam. I'm not that much of a YouTube pro. I think I did for one video back in the day. But the Fortepiano pedal is basically I'm pedaling late, so that it's not a full pedal, but we have this kind of right. Hear how that sounds different then? Right, so it's one really fascinating way to affect the sustained sound of the piano, right? Usually the piano, either you're sustaining a note and then it decays, or you're not. But this is one way to actually have kind of bump, and it's especially useful to give a sense of ping to a note or a chord, but also to get out of the way when you're accompanying, because you could play these nice loud accents and then still sustain but come down in terms of the volume. So I think it's a very cool effect. I've been trying to practice it and incorporate it. It is very different from piano to piano. Another pedaling related element that I'm trying to work on is variety in stride pedaling. And I'm a huge Hank Jones fan, and one of the things I notice every time I hear him play stride is that, like, bar to bar, like, he's just pedaling differently all the time. And so I work on pedaling every note and then moving from beat 1 to beat 3, and then from beat 2 to beat 4, and then just beat 4. And trying to figure out, okay, how can I, like, keep this irregular in a way that's going to create really interesting swing and almost an interesting cross rhythm to the music. Because pedaling, of course, it's usually the last thing on our mind. It's usually kind of on autopilot. But in order to achieve that variety, you almost have to have a more kind of conscious pedaling approach. So that's been kind of a fun project that I've been working on for a very long time. And sometimes I can do it, sometimes not so much. Okay, I'm going to skip one in the list. All right, this is a big one for me. I took a bunch of lessons with the pianist Gerald Clayton, and one thing that he's said that it's been lodged in my brain, and I've been working on it ever since, is that when he plays solo piano, he listens for the rhythm section in his head, and he hears a really swinging bass player and drummer, so that it feels less effortful for him to swing. And I find this suggestion really useful, but I also find it hard to maintain that level of focus on the rhythm section in my head, right? Like, I'm focusing on a lot of other things when I'm playing solo piano or when I'm playing behind a singer. But if I'm, playing a blues and I'm hearing, Ray Brown in my head, and then Ed Think Pen is, I can stay in that place of focus and really coming back to those really swinging sounds. That to me, like, gets me so locked in the time, in a way that I think makes me a better accompanist. So that's really difficult in terms of focus, but I find it a really useful thing to aim for. And then the last one, which is a never-ending project for me, is dismissing ego. And here's what I mean is, being on that gig and then having the thought of, oh man, everybody's bored, I should play something really fast. Or I don't know if everybody's impressed with me, I should, I should do something fancy between the left hand and the right hand. Or this isn't going so well, let me kind of take over and play some big shout chorus so there's some variety. I think those thoughts can be useful to some degree, but I really want to get better at letting the music go where it wants to go. And I think part of that is also allowing myself to just be more myself and not thinking I have to sound like this person, I have to sound like this person, or I have to sound like I did 2 weeks ago, and saying, well, here's this piano, this day, this moment, this tune, and let's explore. Let's get more comfortable being uncomfortable, controlling less, which is a hard thing for me to do as a control freak. So anyway, these are 6 kind of recurring themes for the last few years that I've been working on incorporating in my jazz playing, and varying success. Definitely varying success, lots of ups and downs. I think I'll probably still be working on most of these things, a decade from now, but we can check in then. Hopefully I'll still be doing this YouTube channel. Thank you for watching, and if you have watched this far, say something involving the word ego. Let's see what you come up with. Thanks, everybody.